The answer is not here, my friends. You're looking at the wrong place. I know you got here all excited. Your bums are not yet numb. They will be by 4 o'clock this afternoon. I know you're pumped and energized and excited. You came to YouthREX looking for some answers. Quoi? And my Nonna Filina would pause, like clockwork, every single time at that point in the story. She would pick up her little white espresso cup filled with vino, let it spill on her lips, run through her 3 teeth, and then she would repeat in a whisper, qua, Italian for here. 3 letters retelling hope. And then my nonna said, the elder appeared magically in the piazza among all the people, not on a stage, not at a podium, not sitting high on a rock, but among the people. The answer is qua, here, community, the elder said. I'm sure my nonna grew tired of repeating the same friggin' story every week for me. As she sat in her black scarf, black dress, black socks, Italian grandmothers are always mourning some paesano that passed away. She came to Canada in her late 70s, knew only Italian dialect, not a word of English, but understood every damn subplot line in The Young and the Restless. She couldn't digest any processed food, but demanded Friday night Kentucky Fried Chicken with Colonel Sanders. She never washed her hair once with shampoo. Extra virgin olive oil. Didn't have a damn flake of dandruff and a full head of hair. Look at this, for God's sake. And it didn't matter whether this staple story was true or an urban myth. I really didn't care. There's this hillside town in Italy where the earth yielded crops. And for decades, they picked olives, squished olives, made extra virgin olive oil, stuffed olives, and the economy grew and grew. And people participated in their church, in their bocce club, in their card club. They got together all the time, and then the earth dried and screamed, and the olives didn't grow, and people stopped hanging around, and they didn't go play bocce. And slowly, problems started to emerge. And a small group decided, let's call some elders, some experts, to tell us the answer. One comes, stands on the piazza, then another, and another, all with a different story, as if it was the only story. And then just before the night falls, and stomachs squeal, and heads swell, and children squeak, they wait for this final 102-year-old woman who makes her way from the little town. They sit and stare at an empty stage. They seek the answer from the person who's going to make their way to the podium. So often, too often, we do the same. And the answer is the same. It's old school, it's vintage, it's community. Community is the answer, period. In 1887, 2 ministers, a rabbi, a priest, and a women's advocate, this is not a bad joke, got together in a bar. Seriously. Denver was drying up. All these gold mines where people had come from across the US for work and employment were dying. Families started to fight. Men put their sorrow into a bottle. And this group of 5 sat over whiskey and said, how the hell are we going to solve this? They turned to community. And in 1887, the first United Way was born in Denver. No elders, no keynotes, just community coming together to solve local problems. And for centuries since, around the world, we have been connecting people from all walks of life to opportunities. We've been tackling the barriers that keep too many people from succeeding, and we've been making a commitment as an organization to be an ally for all people. After the so-called Summer of the Gun in Toronto, United Way turned to community. We gathered youth from priority neighborhoods across this city. We brought government, business, faith together. And at the core of those tables were youth, involved in developing, funding, delivering, evaluating solutions. We funded over 111 of projects, many of them still running today. See, NIA, Young and Potential Fathers, and Youth Leaps. Many youth leaders who participated in our City Leaders programs. And damn, did we learn a lot of lessons. Were there failures? But at the core, that is the magic and fluidity of community. In 2001, when poverty reared its face stubbornly in postal codes across this region, we began to bring researchers and people with lived experience together. Thereafter, we released Poverty by Postal Code that identified those neighborhoods across our region where poverty, race, and opportunity were stubbornly entrenched. And since that report, we have worked with community to build 7 hubs where well over 1 million people have accessed services. Hundreds of resident groups have emerged, and over 5,000 residents have given their voice on issues like Toronto's first poverty reduction strategy. Community is the answer. Because as I say once a day, 365 days a year, and it drives my family crazy, we are not going to social service or charity or fundraise our way out of these wicked social problems. No matter how much we raise, no matter how many programs per issue we fund, the single most sustainable way to build our neighborhoods is to harness our abundance, not wallow in our deficits. Mo's got hands of gold. He loves to measure and make and mold. The caseworker he met didn't talk about Mo failing math. He didn't talk about the fact that the GTA has 22% youth unemployment, or that unemployment for racialized youth is 40%. He told Mo about a United Way opportunity which would get him a job placement and schooling to help face youth who face discrimination and poverty find their way into good jobs, to get them the training, social skills, and network they need to succeed year after year. He said, "You'll be great," as he tactfully passed him a subway token that he knew he couldn't afford. The interviewers at the company didn't focus on Mo dropping out of high school and doing dope. They talked about what motivated him, where he wanted to be in 5 years. Mo was accepted into the United Way program, Career Navigator, for his assets, not his deficiencies. He studies at George Brown College. He's got a job placement. And so far, about 78% of the Mo's who participate with Career Navigator have graduated with work-related certificates, and over 75% have found employment or are pursuing education. And yeah, we did research. We have theories of change. We evaluate. We monitor, if that's what gets you all excited. But more important, my friends, we started with community. We had conversations with young people in their spaces living in poverty. And we asked, what the hell do you want most? And the answer unanimously was, a damn job. And we asked, so what are you going to bring? Goodwill, intentions, tenacity, hunger. We just need an opportunity. And then they said, what are you going to bring to the table? And we said, we can bring some money, maybe. We can bring some donors. We can bring some agencies. And we will listen with both ears. And when we harness community abundance, magic happens. We can solve local issues, facilitating connections, rallying together. All of this creates a sense of belonging. Belonging, the most powerful human emotion, because it sucks to not belong. Like Nisha, 16 years old, lives in a community close by, moved in with her mom after years of abuse. She thought it was going to be great. Then she stayed in her room for a year, suicidal, gained 100 pounds, because she just couldn't get out. It's got the highest police calls in the region, lowest EQAO scores. And finally, this group of residents, frustrated, got together and applied for a wee bit of funding from United Way. When Nisha got off the bus one day, a resident said to her, "Hey, you Nisha?" "Yeah," she said, surprised. "I hear you're an A student." "Yeah," Nisha said, now slightly freaked out. "Come by the basement tomorrow at 4. She said, "You're going to be our after-school mentor." "Yeah," said Nisha, nervous, excited, afraid, happy, honored. So they start this little after-school program. Then they start a childcare co-op, then a community garden. Nisha mentors 1, 10, 20 kids. Today, that group of residents has decreased the number of police calls, increased the EQAO scores in grade 3 and grade 6. Every kid in that after-school program has graduated. Nisha's in her 3rd year of university. It's not magic. This is what Nisha says. We are all better when we belong, because we know community works. Neighbors and neighborhoods with the highest sense of belonging and social capital, places where they can go to meet, get to know each other, volunteer, participate, also have the highest GDP growth year after year. Connected communities also have the lowest crime rate, highest education rate, and highest health indicators. Belonging matters. Community, abundance, belonging. One more word. Okay, I promise, not one more, maybe a few more. Did you know there is research that says it's harder to pretend you're listening than to actually listen? Thank you for all your effort. Change. A few years ago, I did this 360 experience with a United Way funded program called 360 Kids. They put 30 corporate and community adults, leaders they called us, to live on the streets of York Region for one day. I showed up at the drop-in like the Michelin tire man. It was March. I had on 37 jackets, thermal underwear, hats, scarves. My wife thought I was making a trip to the Himalayas. She packed me 13 loaves of Italian bread, a thermos of espresso. I was just staying for the night, dear. My partner and I, a caseworker from CAS, get $5, and we are told, you are a pregnant 16-year-old. You have to make your way from Richmond Hill. How many people know where Richmond Hill is? Good, way to go. To EVA's Satellite, the only harm reduction program in Toronto. We get on the bus. The bus driver says, what the hell's wrong with you people? It's not that cold outside. We make our way down. We get to EVA's place. It's jammed. There's 15 people strewn in a living room the size of this table because there's no room for them in the shelter, and they're going to sleep there. One of this guy looks at us suspiciously, and then he says to the EVA staff, are they with the cops? And the tour guy says, no, United Way and CAS. I don't know if that was better or worse. He looked at me and said, hey, my name is Eagle from Newmarket. I said, hey, Eagle. He tells me that his dad died when he was 1. His mom mourned with meth and men, died on the streets in Toronto. Then he went from foster home to foster home, and then he landed here, in and out, in and out. I know you guys talk about agencies, he says. They help. I need it. Still do. Then he pulls this Band-Aid out of his pocket, and he gives it to me, and I have it in my office. Take this with you, please, he says. It's like, I need this, but to really change shit, to really help me, can you keep your eye on the big change? Please. So maybe it's my Nonna story. Maybe it's Mo. Maybe it's Nisha. Or maybe it's the eagle. It doesn't really matter. Whatever it is, I, and I hope you, are tired of looking at a stage for an answer. I hope you're tired of looking at a keynote for an answer. The answer is not here. I know you've been sitting for a long time. Now your bums are really numb. And you're wondering, when the hell is this guy going to end? Get up off your bums. No, really, get up. You are the answer. Community is the answer to our biggest social issues. Growing income inequality and precarious employment will tear the fabric of our community. Today, and when you leave, from wherever you lead. Make community the answer. Harness the abundance of the young people you work with. Give them a sense of belonging and rage for change. System and immediate change. You are the leaders that are going to ensure that old school, vintage community remains the answer. Cheers.